What's up, dudes? I just took a hat off the loom and I want to show, this is my very favorite part of making the hats. You want to see what happens? So this is the finishing yarn string that I did, and so that loops through every last loop here, and then watch what happens. This is the best part. You pull it, this is my favorite part. This is what makes all of this worth it. Look at that. We have achieved a hat. Let's try it. Oh my God. I look like strawberry shortcake, that blueberry one. I look like that blue fairy hat. And then I try it on and I say, oh my God, I freaking love it. So I got some more yarn. My daughter and I went to the thrift store yesterday. I always have my eye out. So what I'll do now is I have this yarn needle, and so I'll undo this knot here. I'll put this through, and then I'll run this needle through this seam, and this piece will be hidden in the seam here. And then on here, I'll tie a knot right at the top, and then I'll cut it about here, and then I'll run it through the seam here. And then that's how you finish the hat. So I was at the thrift store, and I'm always looking for some way, because I want to start selling my capes online. So I'm always looking for some way to display the capes so I can photograph them. Want to see what I just found at the thrift store? Hold on. Check it out. I think it's just a decorative little dress form. But watch this. Want to see what I got for capes? This one is really cute. Birdies all over. And then it has this neat cotton fabric on the inside. I love this one. And then this one has a special surprise too on the back. Let's see, where are you? Right over. This little birdie got a little butterfly stitched on it. Or a little bow in its little birdie tail. Most of the capes have like this decorative piping around the collar, and it usually matches the fabric that was used on the inside of the cape. This cape is really cool. It's actually got a neat little hidden surprise. This one is a celebration of paisleys. So it has paisley there, this wonderful cool stripe, and then some more paisley all along the back panel. And So that's the cool thing about these capes, is they have these little hidden surprises on the inside. And every one of them has a unique button. I collect vintage buttons, old buttons, new buttons, whatever button I pull out of the button jar for the cape. This cape is pretty cool too. I found this vintage decorative trim from like the 60s. And then I had this really mod fabric. So I was like, yes, please. So I added the trim along the back to give it a little pop. And then I found this super cool vintage button. And then the inside is this cool fabric. This was a fun one to make. So here we are. I mean, this is how many I have. Let's look real quick. I love this one. Look at this. Bunnies. I call this one Bunnies in the Thicket. This has a cool button too. Bunnies. See them? This one's really cool too. I love playing with stripes. There's that yellow again. Another mod fabric. And then I did this neat polka dot. This one makes me think of fall when the leaves fall off the trees. So I put this fabric on the inside. It made me think of leaves. A little spooky. This beautiful vintage, kind of a burnt orange. This is a more formal cape. This is a fun one. Horseshoes. Very medieval. Here's that fabric again. This time it's on the outside, lined with this sweet floral. This one's cool. This one makes me think of a baseball game. I had this neat American flag fabric. And this cool vintage star button. This is cool. These are more dressy. You can hear it. Slick. Really neat fabrics. Little pink bows. And then this gray has a floral. Same thing in a green. With this amazing vintage button. This is a cool black one. Look at the inside. Woo! Here's a thicker, cooler weather cape. Here's a sweet little one. Same fabric on the inside. Here's another of that mod material, except this one has green stars, the other one had blue. So I scored all this really cool designer fabric at the surplus store. And so that's where all these bolts of fabric that I have came from. So I paid like pretty much next to nothing for, I mean, I did pay, but very inexpensive for expensive fabrics. I got my other fabrics, thrift stores. I love vintage fabrics, anything like that. This was so cool, I made it again. And then messed around with polka dots. And this one has a floral pattern, but has a different button. Then I made some teachers' capes, because I know teachers have days at school where they dress up, do all sorts of different things. So I made 2 different kinds of teacher capes. I ran across some teacher fabric, which was super cute. I mean, if I was in elementary school and my teacher came in wearing this, flapping her cape wings, I'd probably pay attention to what she's teaching. I had this old vintage lace. This is pink, old vintage pink lace. So I decided to try to incorporate that in, and then I had this really sweet pattern for the inside. And then it has a green back on it. This one is almost like a wedding cape. Has this beautiful vintage button. And then the back has this amazing detail on the back. It was really fun to make. This one's cool. This one reminds me of like a vineyard. This one is fun. I call this one Winter at the Farm. So if you look, it's kind of hard to, it looks very icy. And then a whole bunch of winter happening at the farm. Look at that. Winter at the Farm. This one was cool. I made this out of a tapestry that had all these elephants on it. And I wanted to like honor the tapestry. I found that tapestry in the bins at Goodwill. You know, when you see an elephant with its trunk up, it's a symbol of good luck. So I made it into a cape. This is my rain slicker. This was made out of a very old, extra thick, vintage tablecloth, vinyl tablecloth. That was in this lace pattern, but it's actually vinyl. And it's super old. It was still in the package. I got it from the bins at Goodwill. And then I decided to make a rain slicker out of it. And then I lined it in this pink. Turned out super cute. I left the decorative edge of the tablecloth down the front of it. I made another rain slicker. This one is out of a shower curtain. Has this kind of neat mod look to it. Now these capes are longer capes. The other ones are capelets. These capes go about to the knee. This is a super thick fleece line one for cold weather. This one's pretty. A study in greens. And then the back is all this. And then it has this really cool vintage green linen. Really fun to wear. This one, it's hanging a little weird on the hanger right now. A study in pastels. And then I played with some ginghams. I love that fabric, so I messed around with it some more. This time it's a more subtle outside. The whole outside just looks like this fabric. But the inside is a whole party. A girly party here. This one is very noble. This is, I hear the fox hunt. Reminds me of medieval fox hunt. Oh, the queen is going to go hunting with the king. Well, get her cape, darling. It's a really thick blanket that I lined with this thick, this was a curtain. And then it has this vintage brass button on it. And it's super warm. It's for when you have to be outside, but dressy. And then the whole back is this neat pattern. This one is super cool. Let's see if we can get it. This one, I found this amazing blanket that had a peacock on it. And it had this wonderful velvet. It's like the extra soft velvet on the back of the blanket. And I said, I am totally repurposing this blanket and I'm going to make it into a cape. So I did. And hold on. Check it out. There's the back. I broke so many needles making this cape, but it turned out super rad. So there's the back. And then its tail wraps around either side. Isn't that cool? This was neat. This is a thick flannel, but it looks like patchwork, like little stamped patchwork. And this is lined in fleece, so this is really warm. Has a neat, cool look to it. And then I have, getting to the end here, there's black lined in that pink, floral with a big button. Super cute. I have, this was fun. This was another tapestry that I turned into a cape. Kind of has a tribal look to it, which I loved. That's the back. Here's where I played around with ruffles. Look at that. So this has these two blue panels down the side. So it's almost like curtains on the side of the cape with a curtain ruffle. And then it's lined in this just soft gray on the inside. And then the back is just the pink. But the shoulders is where all the fun is at. And then finally, the last one, another made with this amazing black, it's like upholstery fabric, so it's like thicker. And then inside, this beautiful fall fabric. And then a big old black button. So that's what I've been up to. What a score on my dress form. All right, so here's where I keep my fabric. If you sew this kind of shelving unit thing, we got this one at IKEA, but they sell them pretty much anywhere. They're those standard ones that have the basket things that can go in them. They work perfect for storing material. And so if you have your material folded and stacked, sometimes you can't really see it very well. And so what you can do, if you don't have like a bolt, like this actual cardboard thing, you can just, that's all these are just pieces of cardboard that I've made out of a long rectangle, and then I wrap my fabric around it. And look at, I can see everything I have. So I highly recommend doing it. You get really inspired. It's like you're walking into a fabric store. Then if you have huge pieces of fabric, that kind of stuff, this particular unit has these cupboards that I put them in. And then on top of it, here's all my different kind of notions, sewing supplies, all sorts of stuff like that. I keep all my scraps. And when I'm done, I end up making these party garlands with the scraps. And so they're like these little tassel garlands. And they're about 8 feet with the ribbon. And then you stretch those little tassels out and you decorate with them. And then when the wind blows, all these beautiful different, it's kind of an older fashioned type of decoration. All these beautiful strips of fabric blow in the wind. Pretty neat. So this is all stuff I would have thrown away But instead I kept it and I repurposed it, and now it becomes a decoration. And all of those are different. I use whatever ribbon I get that I find at the thrift store. So here's my basket full of ribbon. I've got all kinds of ribbon. When I go to the bins at Goodwill, there's pretty much always ribbon, spools of ribbon there. And I just grab them, pick them up. They barely weigh anything. And at the bins at Goodwill, it's like a Goodwill outlet where you pay per pound. So you pay $2.89 per pound of stuff you buy. So I just scored on a bunch of super cheap ribbon, and then I use this to make the garlands. Constantly making money, darlings, constantly. Here's my yarns. They're all rolled into balls for the hats. Just picked up some more really cool yarn at the Goodwill retail store yesterday. I went with my daughter. I got this at the bins. So this, I got this and this recently. And I got this, some other things, a pair of tights. What else did I get? A whole bunch of other things, and I paid $7 for all of it. The last time I went to Goodwill, I asked them, how much is this? Will you weigh it? This turned out to be $1.50. So really, really good deals. And I love the challenge of having to use what I have to make something that somebody wants. So I took all this fabric from the salvage store, the surplus store, and made a whole bunch of awesome capes. You ready to party yet?